Howdy, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Spurs Scoop. Got my cider. Got lots of transfer visuals. Lots of things to discuss. Let's get going. Earlier than usual on a Thursday, usually around about midday. So yeah, we have some really serious transfer talk to talk about. 11 weeks since the transfer window closed. August 31st, only 6-7 weeks until it opens. January 1st. Things need to start happening. We've got a new director of football in place, chief scout. So hopefully behind the scenes, we're getting lots of things done. And we need to get lots of things done. Injuries, players missing through suspension. I mean, injuries alone. Wow. Continue to pile up the injuries. It's clear that this depth is no way near good enough. It's pitiful, quite frankly. Before we get going, like, sub, hit that super chat. Hit the like, hit the sub. They're free. If you fancy supporting the channel even more, get a super chat in. As always, on these Thursday shows, I'm riding solo. Full interactivity. Get in a chat. I'll read everything out. Let's get discussing. Share the show with your friends, whatever, on social media. Let's get chatting. Discussion is the key. Right, we've got a few people in the comments already. Let's have a look. Danny Boy, co-host of us, with us here at the Hotspur Hood. Only 3 minutes late. We've got a new early record. People, please like and subscribe. It does help. It absolutely does. Morning all. James Flower. Yes, my man. How are you doing? Good morning, Tommy Benjamin. How you doing, my friend? Mark Cousins. What's up? What's up? All the way from Somerset, from the West Country. How you doing, Mark? As I said, I can discuss more with the chat when I'm on my own. It's difficult when I'm surrounded by guests, especially fiery guests, as it usually is on a Tuesday. A little bit more chill, but it's difficult to be chill. 2 losses, injuries piling up, and that's what we're going to talk about first. Don't worry, we're going to get into transfers. We're going to get into transfers a great deal, but it's exactly this. Spurs injuries continue to pile up. There's Van der Ven should have got stretchered off against Chelsea. In many ways, we might have made the injury worse by carrying him like this. But this is just one image of many that we're seeing at the moment. Big news today, highly linked with Toney. Richarlison highly linked to Wade, Saudi Arabia. That's the big news. But I just want to overlook the current injuries. Let's just put a list out. I'm gonna list the current injuries. So, Ivan Perisic, ACL, pretty much done for the season. He's 34, so he was only going to play a bit part this season. I'll tell you what, though, in the brief game time he had at the start of the season, he looked good. Looked very good, Perisic. For me, we'll probably never see him in the Spurs shirt again in his career. His contract runs out at the end of the season. His injury has been more unlucky than anything, I would say. But at 34, let's face it, I'm 34. Getting out of bed is difficult enough in the morning. So an athlete, can get burnt out at 34. So you're always more susceptible to injuries at that age. The forgotten man, also on that left-hand side, Ryan Sessegnon. What injuries he got? Same as this, hamstring injury. Been out for ages, missed the entirety of this season so far. He will be returning, they say. They've given an actual specific date. I remember last week on the Spurs website. Or was it Football London? 27th of November. I don't know how he's still 23, Sessegnon. I really, really don't know how he's still 23 years old. But apparently he is. We did sign him very young, to be fair, 18, I think. What a horrible signing he's been. He's one I forget. I always forget about him. But £25 million. Waste. Just a complete waste, as was Gil on that side. Manor Solomon. Injury, meniscus injury. That is knee related. Obviously not as bad as an ACL, but knee related nonetheless. Everyone said this guy, Solomon, risk-free. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work out because he was signed on a free by Levy. We don't lose any money. Why do we constantly care about losing money or making money as a football fan? Why do we care? Because we know this is how Levy functions. It shouldn't be how a football club functions, but monetary gains is the forefront. Levy and Enoch, if you like. We know this. I wanted someone better than Solomon for that side. Terrible injury record. So we're fully to blame for Solomon getting injured. It's no surprise. Missed half of last season. The first half of last season, he was injured, Solomon at Fulham. He might be a free transfer, but he's taking the place of a member of the squad, of the 25, 26. We could have got a better winger. Don't really matter now anyway. He's out for 2-3 months. I don't really rate him anyway. He's like a bottom half Premier League player, probably relegation candidate player. He was behind Willian for Fulham in the ranks. He was literally, Willian got above him. He was coming on scoring a few towards the end of last season, but not a good signing. Solomon injured. No surprise there. Now, obviously, this is awful. This is the big one. I asked this question on Sunday show. I asked this question on Tuesday show. Who's the bigger miss? Van de Ven or Maddison? What do people think in the comments? Have you say in the comments? Let me know what you think. VDV or Maddison? Who is the bigger injury? So, Van de Ven, you have 3 tiers of hamstring tear. I've only learned this week. I'm sure many have seen this. It's grade 2 with Van de Ven. So grade 3 would obviously be horrible. That's like 4 or 5 months. Grade 2 can still be 2-3 months. So we're going to lose him. He's gone until January minimum. But we've got to look at the facts. Last season, he played 38 games. I mean, in the last 2 seasons for Wolfsburg, he played 38 games before his summer £40 million move to us. He had injury problems. Last season, he missed 2 or 3 months. Similar issue, hamstring. I hope this is not Lamptey territory. Remember that great for a right back Brighton had? Tariq Lamptey? Insane pace. He was timed at the fastest player of all time in the Premier League, Lamptey, in the first 10 games of his initial season. Magnificent. Hamstring injury. After hamstring injury, he's nowhere to be seen now. As I say, I don't know if he's still at Brighton, but he's nowhere really. He was linked with 50, 60 million pound moves. But that hamstring, once it goes, you're more susceptible. It's going to be there for a long time, probably forever. I don't think he's having surgery. I'm not sure if he's having surgery. I guess he with a tear, you sort of have to, don't you? I think Richarlison's having surgery, or had surgery. Gill had surgery. It's just that operator, the guy performing the surgeries, must be earning some decent money. But it was obvious he was going to get this injury. Using this pace is fantastic, but having to use it, having to rely on it like Van de Ven does, relying is a better word, is going to be a problem. We've seen his pace, absolutely incredible. The fastest centre-back I've ever seen. He couldn't keep relying on it. You're going to pay the price, and he did. So months without him now. And we go to Richarlison. I'm going to talk about him in depth in terms of him potentially going to Saudi Arabia, Toney potentially coming to us in a little while. But he's had groin surgery. Apparently, groin surgery is not that bad, so he'll be back in training within the next few weeks, which is crazy. But that appears to be the case. As I said, we're going to talk about him more in detail shortly. Safe to say he hasn't had a very good season. Destiny Udogie, he's not definitely injured. He's not on the 100% injured list. The rest of these players are for the next game, for Aston Villa game. But he's been struggling. He missed the game against Palace. He was the first player in the starting 11 to miss a game. He was burnt out. I think it was the Fulham game before he got subbed off, and he missed the Palace game. Banned last game, struggling with injuries. Not surprising that he's struggling with an injury again. So another potential injury, another key player. But not as key as this man. James Maddison. Ankle injury before the Wolves game. It was reported he'd be out for 6 weeks. We thought it was going to be a couple of weeks, but 6 weeks. That's the whole of Christmas. He's the one more than any other that we did not need getting injured. I'm not sure how he create now. That creativity just doesn't exist in this team. Son's going to have to be forced to play as a cam now, almost certainly like Kane did for 3 seasons. It's not looking good without Maddison. His history of injuries, he usually picks up little injuries 3 or 4 times a season. When I talk to Leicester fans, they always say he's out for 3 or 4 times a season, usually a week or 2 weeks. Not an injury prone, but certainly he missed 9 games, I think, last season. I think he played 29 games or 30 games for Leicester. He missed 8 or 9 games, so he does pick up injuries. So there's no real surprise that he was going to get injured. But where's your backup line? Your backup's line in Lo Celso. Lo Celso's such a poor backup. I don't care what he does for Argentina. Such a poor backup. Ange doesn't fancy him, so he puts Hotspur in a flat 3 against a weak Wolves team. It's an okay Wolves team. They won 1 game at home leading into Saturday's game, I should say. We put Hotspur there. That goes to show the state of our backup, or lack thereof, quite frankly. And you've got to look at the list of the other players that are fit now. But Bentancur, he's been out for 10 months. He's only recently back. Bissouma out for 4 months last season. Romero, always injured. He only played 19 games. In the first season for us, he only played 19 league games. For injury. Injured a lot last season. Brian Gill returned from surgery, as I just said, only recently in the summer, not getting any game time. Is it fair to question the physios? I put this out to guests on Tuesday. Most of them agreed with me, and I said, no, I don't think it is the physios. These players had a lot of a history of injuries, as I've just showed you. 90% of the players I put up have a history of injuries. And the first 10 games this season, not a single injury to any of the first 11 other than Udogie for 1 game against Palace. So I don't blame the physios at all. I think the Spurs physios in general have been magnificent. How they've kept Kane for 3 years when he always had bad ankle injuries, missed 3 months, 4 months. He didn't get a single injury for the last 2 or 3 years of his career. So they taped him up and done a great job on him. I'm not saying they're the greatest physio team, but I don't know. I'm not an expert on physiotherapy. I think when you look at evidence suggests that these players are going to get injuries. Even someone like Van der Ven, you just look at his traits, his skills. You can't be that quick and not do your hamstring. And that's exactly what's happened. Outside of injuries, obviously, we're getting suspensions too. In less than 2 months, again, more depth needed. 12th of Jan and 13th of Jan. I think 12th of Jan, African Cup of Nations begins. We lose Sarr and Bissouma. A day later, Asian Cup begins. We lose Son. We lose 3 players, not just any 3 players, not 3 squad players, 3 first 11 players. Bissouma, Sarr, both centre mids, and Son. That's why we need to talk about transfers, because we need some, at least 2, minimum 2 in January for me. It'll be very, very interesting indeed, as we need players early on in January window, because these players are going mid-Jan, as well as the injuries we will have. But we know how Levy operates. It only ever seems to be the end of windows we do anything. And hearing some news coverage and what's coming out of sources around Spurs, it seems like they're talking about not really identifying anyone to sign at the moment. We'll just see how the window goes and might pick up 1 or 2 at the end of the window. That doesn't surprise us at all. I'm not shocked at that in the slightest. That is how we conduct transfer windows. Right. Next up, Richarlison out, Toney in. Who wouldn't want this? It's a little bit of a dream, though. So I'm going to put this away for a second. We'll get to that shortly. But I want to get in the comments, see what people are saying. Right. Where are we? Good morning. Just a harmless potato. Great name. How you doing, my friend? I've seen you on a few times, not recently. Love the intro music. Late 80s vibe. Tech, 80s tech. I love it too. Not many people, a bit 50-50 on it. 23, but with a body of an 83-year-old ex-amateur wrestler. Yeah, mate. You need the painkillers. Steroids and painkillers. It's never a good combination for those 80s wrestlers. Big up, Louis K. How you doing? Mia, how's it going? How's it going, Mia? Tottenham away. What's happening? Stelios, how you doing, my friend? VDV, purely because of the football style, without your strong defence, teams will open you up and you will let more goals in. That high press, it's a good point, and it's a good discussion we had the other day. The fact that high pressing line and the pace he comes out with, without that, it changes the team dynamic. I think with Romero back in there, though, it won't be as bad. It won't be great, but it won't be as bad. I think without Maddison, there's just nothing even slightly equal to Maddison. That's why I'd say his injury is worse. Big up Tommy. Ilias, what's happening, my friend? Nice colour jacket. You know what? This is a woman's running top. But these are the best running tops there is, man. They're thermal inside. I picked it up and my girlfriend was like, I'm pretty sure that's a girl's one. But do you know what? Ever since then, I'm loving the girl tops. And I'm going to go running straight after this. No, I'm not really. I'm drinking cider, so I can't go directly after. I will go later on. Your body is your temple. Leicester had the same problem. Rely too much on Maddison, and he will be the same at Spurs. With quick transition, then Maddison will get more injuries. Absolutely. Dier out 100%. I've talked enough about that guy. I want to talk about it in a bit more depth today, actually, because we know he's linked away. Not just to Bayern Munich. Originally, it was Bayern Munich at the start of the week. Now back to Sporting Lisbon. As I say, I'm going to bring that up shortly. Why Dier out? And Elias, don't say Dier out in front of Elias. You won't have it. Because the players are playing a style that is more offensive and where the midfield has to be stopped. They're both unbelievably key players. All three key players. Romero, Dier and Maddison. I mean, what do we do without Son? Seriously, if Son picks up an injury, and he's got a history of injuries as well, like, what happens? Bill, morning, Tommy. How you doing, my friend? Oh, no reason, only because of his pathetic displays for the last 6 years. Dier has been great for us at times. Disagree. We'll get onto it shortly. But as I said, first up, I want to talk about these rumours. Toney in, Richarlison out. Would anybody not take this? I'm guessing most people would. Please, 20 minutes in, make sure you smash a like. We've only got 9 likes. We haven't even got 10 likes. We're not even in double figures. I know it's just me, but I do try and keep things as interactive and as lively as possible. So please chuck us a like. And of course, subscribe if you haven't. It's completely free to subscribe and like. Okay, Ritchie out, Toney in. So, let's start with Mr. Ivan Toney. Some facts. Right. So he got the 8-month ban, the drug ban. That is up. He cannot legally play a competitive game until the 17th of January, 2024. It's only a few months' time. He's got 2 months' time, basically. 27 years old. He's no spring chicken. He really isn't. He's not young. He's 28 in March. Yeah, 28 in March. Contract runs out 2025. He's only got a year and a half on his contract, Tony. You've got to look at the value there. I mean, transfermarket.com has him at 32 million. His highest market value rate was last season. He was about 55, 60 million pounds. So everyone's talking about 70, 80 million pounds. I don't think at 28, with 18 months left, I don't think Brentford can ask for 80 million pounds. I think 50, 60 million pounds. I think 60 million pounds is a good fee for this guy, quite frankly. I like him as a player, but I don't see him going for over 60 million. Brentford, what Brentford are up to is very, very key. So we often forget that. When we're signing players from clubs, we just think, oh, we should sign him. He'll want to come to Spurs. But the club may not want to sell him. He may not want to come. Now, Toney would come to Spurs, 100%. But do Brentford want to sell him? They've got the risk of losing him on a free, I guess, the season after next. But I think that they're 11th or 12th in the league. They're going to be in a relegation battle, I believe. I do. They're great at selling and replacing players. They sold initially for the strikers they had at the Championship. They sold Malpai, and they got Watkins. They got Watkins and Benrahma. They sold Watkins and Benrahma and got Toney and Mbemo. They're brilliant, and it's happened throughout their squad, not just up front. They're very good at replacing players, similar to Brighton in that mode. So they will be able to replace, but I think January is too soon for them. And quite frankly, they'd be stupid to let him go. I mean, you get 200 million pounds Premier League rights now, television rights each club. So I think it's like 180 million. So would you sell Toney for 50 million and risk that? When he was the third highest goal scorer in the league behind Haaland and Kane last season. Don't see Brentford risking it. I really, really don't. Unless there's a stupid offer like 70 million pounds. Arsenal need a striker. Chelsea need a striker. I'm convinced that Oshman will go Chelsea in January. And I have a feeling, and I hope so, that Arsenal stick with Nketiah and Jesus because they're not good enough. But I hope Arsenal go that way. I hope Chelsea don't get Oshman, but it looks like he's going to go. This sort of racist stuff that happened towards Oshman that Napoli put up in their social media. He looks like he's done. It makes a lot of sense for him to go to Chelsea. So I think Toney will stay. I think the most likely option would be going to Arsenal. A lot of people think that he could go Chelsea. I'm not sure. I don't think that's a possibility, to be honest with you. Would I take him at Spurs? Hell yes. Of course I would. Look, I said in the summer, if we sold Kane, I'd get him in anyway for Jan. He's homegrown as well. He knows the Premier League. It's so key to get proven Premier League players. That's why Maddison come in and fit like a glove. I think Toney would do the same. We paid £50 million for Brennan Johnson. Another 10 million, I think we could have got Toney in the summer. Okay, he wouldn't play till January, but it's fine. 50 million for Johnson. Why? Why did we spend 50 million on Johnson? We replaced our record goal scorer in the history of this football club, Harry Kane, with a right winger. He only played up top for Wales. I would love to sign Toney, but I just don't see it. I don't see it. If we could get him, even with a fully fit Son, you say, well, what's Son going to do if you get him? Is he not going to play striker anymore? Son played as a left winger for 15 years of his career and was fantastic. So I don't mind reverting Son to the left. I think he can still work. I think he's still got enough pace, especially with Udogie overlapping him. I think he's still got enough pace on the left wing, Son, to be fine with Toney up top. And as we know, Son is going to be away for a month, mid-January anyway. Perfect. Son goes on the 13th of January. Toney's suspension's up on the 17th of January. You got Toney for 3 or 4 weeks before Son even turns up. You play him up top. The other option, I guess, is Veliz to go up top when Son's not here. The other option is Richarlison. So, Mr. Richarlison, 10 league games this season. I think he started 6 of them. 3 assists, 1 goal, which isn't terrible. But if you look at the players around Richarlison, the quality around him, especially on that left-hand side, as I said, Udogie, Son, Maddison, been terrific. 1 goal is nowhere near good enough. And let's face it, look, he's been in position to score goals. He works hard and gets into those positions, but his finishing, I don't know. There's got to be a new word to define how bad his finishing is. Not underwhelming, not pitiful. It's worse than both those words. Every opportunity, whether it's 6-8 yards out or even a free, let's say a free shot and go from just outside the box, he's skying them and scuffing them. And it's not good. It's not good. Look, he works hard, but the finishing is just ridiculous. We cannot have him up top. He's just not got that quality. Nowhere near. As poor as he's been, though, I guarantee there will be interest from other clubs. 48 games for Brazil at 26 years of age is some doing. That takes some doing. Now, this is the worst Brazil scored for a very long time. Who are the options up top? You've got Vinicius on the left wing. There aren't very many options up top at all. The fact that he's got 20 goals from 48 games stands him in good stead for other clubs looking at him. His contract runs out in 2027. We signed him for £55 million. And this is important with Levy. It's always important. Monetary is always important. We know this. It's depressing, but it's the truth. The 55 million will determine whether we sell him or not. Like with Brentford, like Brentford with Toney, if the price is right, we'll sell. I think if we get 40 million in January from Saudi, from a Saudi club, I think Levy would consider it. I do. You take a £15 million loss, but he's not looking like a £40 million player right now. Personally, I'd sell him for 30. I think he's a decent player, Richarlison. I think he's a 25, £30 million player. We way overpaid 50, 60 million. I don't care if he is playing for Brazil week in, week out on international duty. But I don't see Levy accepting less than £40 million. And I would not be selling Richarlison if there wasn't a replacement lined up. The injuries, as I discussed at the start of the show, are just crazy, especially on the left side, that left wing side. And let's face it, Ange likes him. Ange plays him week in, week out, when fit. Although, what I will say is, 2 of the big injuries we've had, Solomon and Perisic, I think at this point, one of them would have been first team by now, taking Richarlison's spot. Wouldn't have taken a great deal of quality, that's for sure. But I do think at this stage of the season, Perisic and Solomon would be in front of Richarlison. But with the injuries, Perisic out for a season, Solomon for months, and he's not proven anyway, Solomon. You've got to keep Richarlison unless you've got a signing lined up. I know a lot of people are like, oh, no, just get rid of him. I can't stand him. Look how many injuries we've got now. We just can't afford to do that. And I don't think Levy will want to do that. I don't think Ange will want to do that. But if the price is right, you never know. £40 million. And I can only see him going to Saudi Arabia. The only clubs that will pay that much for him would be in and around Saudi Arabia. Also, the injury that he picked up, Richarlison, is going to put clubs off. He's just had surgery. It's not big surgery. Apparently, the groin surgery, he can come back relatively quick. He's going to be back before Christmas, that's for sure. Mid-December, I think he could be fully fit. But that's going to put clubs off as well. I think Richarlison's here. He's here until the summer. I would love to get Toney in, but it's not happening. A lot of people are talking about Toney to Spurs. It's just you've got to weigh it up. You've got to think outside the box. It just doesn't make a great deal of sense for Toney to be coming in right now. Right, let's get back in the comments, see what people are saying. Okie dokie, let's have a lookie. Appreciate people coming in at this time. This is a very weird time, awkward time, 11 a.m. I think this is the earliest I've streamed for best part of a year, easily. Dan usually streams at this time. And he does his sporadic shows. So keep subscribed. We've got loads and loads of content. As I said, Dan does his morning shows. We've got the Aussie boys. They're starting at 11 a.m. on Saturdays as well now. So it's going to be quite common, these early streams on the show. Right, as I said, let's look at what people are saying. Let's get some of the chat up. I think the problem with Son is he doesn't track back like Kane did. And also, he doesn't read the game as well. I mean, Kane was an unbelievable reader of the game. Great football brain. I think a few of the people on Tuesday were saying it reminds us of Teddy Sheringham, Harry Kane, but more pace. Sheringham had no pace. And Son just hasn't got, he hasn't got that tactical mind and he hasn't got that pass. He hasn't got the passing range that Kane had. Not many people do. But he will be forced to do that now, Son. Without that cam in there, unless we put Lo Celso in there and try that, if we carry on with Hotspur while Maddison's injured in a flat three, then Son's going to have to come back and do some of the donkey work and try and create and get whoever's on the left through. Who have you got left on the left now? It'd be Brennan Johnson. But he picked up a little injury. It's just injuries everywhere in this football club right now. Ivan Toney wants Arsenal move. I think he definitely does. But if Arsenal don't move in for him, then it doesn't matter. If they don't take a bid, they don't make a bid, it doesn't matter. And I don't think they will. I think they're very stubborn, Arsenal. They think Nketiah and Jesus can do the job. And I hope they carry on with that mode of thinking because I don't think they're good enough. I don't think they can win the league with Nketiah or Jesus up top. And let's face it, they're up there. They're probably going to be in the title race, Arsenal. My job. Tell me one job in the real world where you can put one good day. Tell me one job in the world where you can have one good day per calendar year. My job. In my job, you can have a few good days per calendar year. Is this Dier? This is Dier talk, isn't it? Toney won't get the goals at any big club because there is a huge difference between Brentford, Chelsea, Spurs, or Arsenal. It's a little bit. Yeah, I mean, look, the same can be said for Richarlison. You know, he was a big fish in a small pond at Everton, and now he's a small fish in a larger pond. A lot more pressure on at Spurs. But I tell you what, third highest goal scorer last season, Toney, and Frank plays very direct football, very route one. Deep football. They bypass their centre midfield because they don't have much creativity. So a lot of Brentford's strengths and practically their whole tactical side is punt the ball up to Toney. As he's very good in the air. He's better than Kane in the air, Toney. Not better on the ground. No one is, striker-wise. But I tell you what, with Porro crossing the ball in, Maddison crossing the ball in, Udogie crossing the ball in, we've got better crosses on the ball than we ever have had. Toney would be fantastic. But I don't believe he's going to come to Spurs. He's got to be a better option than Jackson up front to Chelsea, or Nketiah for Arsenal. But as I say, I think Chelsea are getting Osimhen. I'm convinced they will get Osimhen. Brazil's team is a far cry from the 90s and 2000s. Yeah, I mean, this is the worst. This is the weakest. But I'm going to go through transfer rooms at the end of the show. I always do on these Thursday live shows. And there are always lots and lots, more than I've ever seen before, the last 6 months, young Brazilian players coming through in the Brazilian league, linked all around Europe. So I think the next phase, the next generation of Brazilian players are going to be big, huge, because everyone's linked with 30, 40, 50 million pound moves across Europe, 10, 15, 20 players. So I think it's terrible for Brazil now. There's going to be a big improvement for the next 5 or 10 years. And the fact that Richarlison's played 48 games in 20 and scored 20 goals goes to show how bad it is in Brazil right now. It's easier to say things in chats. Big up T, Toney is going to Chelsea or Arsenal. I don't think he's going to go Chelsea. I think they're going to get Osimhen, Toney. Big up Toney anyway, because I said last summer, last January, I think, there were rumours that Kane was going to go Bayern Munich. And everyone, the majority of people were telling me, no, he won't go Bayern Munich. It's a weak league. He won't go there. He wants the Premier League record. And then towards the end of the season, it was he's had a fourth child. He doesn't want to move abroad. All that rubbish. I said in January, he will go Bayern Munich. If Man United don't come in for him, which I've got a funny feeling they won't, Real Madrid won't go in for him, which I've got a funny feeling they won't, he will go to Bayern Munich. I'm telling you now, Osterman is available. He's going to Chelsea, whether it's this January or in the summer. I guarantee it. That means Toney wouldn't be going there. But it could happen. Who knows? It could happen. Levy wants to see a resale price of the same amount. He does, but even he's not stupid enough to think that we're going to spend, another club's going to spend £55 million on Richarlison when he's got, I think, 2 league goals for us in 35 games. Okay, he hasn't started all of those games, but he started a lot of them. His value is diminished massively. So I think £40 million is good money. And I think Levy will look at it as good money for him. Look at Sanchez. We tried to hold out for 25 million on Sanchez for 2 or 3 years. We ended up with £8 million. Sometimes you just got to take a hit. But as I said, if we don't have a replacement lined up, I'm not selling Richarlison this January anyway. We've just got too many injuries. Endrick, Vinny Jr. and Ritchie. Yeah, Endrick's going to be, it's his first season in Europe, isn't it? But he's going to be big time. They've got some great centre mid youth players coming through. They never really, since Carlos and Cafu, they never really had great fullbacks. Well, I suppose, no, left back, they've always been pretty strong, haven't they? Since they had Roberto Carlos, then Marcelo. But their fullbacks right now are shocking. I think Dani Alves, 43, still playing for them. I think he's got done now for sexual assault, so he certainly won't be from now on. But defensively, especially at fullback position, Brazil look really weak, and centre mid isn't looking too great either. Benjamin, get in touch with me and prove to me why Dier out. Elias, you've got a Twitter. Get on, give me your Twitter. Elias is very much Dier in. I don't know how, I don't know why, but Elias will have Dier's back, and we're going to talk about Dier next. Right. Emerson is worse than Dier. Why nobody wants him out? Emerson is shocking. Emerson and Dier are the 2 worst players in this team, by far. Big up, Tommy. Seller Agent, what's happening, my friend? Elias, what do you want? A presentation? He's not good enough. End of discussion. Lad, right, let's go. Eric Dier talk. Not just linked with Bayern Munich. I want to put this up first, actually, because I'm not sure. I'm sure people have heard of the rumours, but I'm not sure people have seen this. I mean, wow. Eric Dier to Bayern Munich. Crazy talk. If anybody thinks that's going to happen. But look, right, this is, I'll put him in a Sporting Lisbon shirt here because he has quoted, this is a quote from him in the recent days on what he said about returning to Sporting Lisbon when his contract ends at Spurs. So this is how he puts it. I don't know. In football, you never know what will happen from one day to the next. Sporting is my club, my home. It's my only club where I spent 12 years, from 8 to 20. It will always be my home. Hold on. I thought Spurs was your home, Dier. I thought you wanted your ashes spread on the Spurs pitch. You never mentioned the Sporting pitch. Do you know what it is? He's getting some criticism off the fan base now. The fans are finally waking up and smelling the coffee. They're smelling the coffee. He's been awful. He's always been awful. Go back. Even at defensive midfield, he was the weakest in that side. The reason we didn't win a league title, he was the weakest in that position. We didn't have Son at that stage either, so left side weren't great. If we improved on the left and had a better centre mid, like when Yama was fully fit that season, we would have won a league title, as far as I'm concerned. Dier has been one of the weakest players in the pitch, in the squad for a long time. As a starting centre-back, it's just been horrific. Horrific. Look at who he had as defensive midfield. Everyone said he was great. Some people still say he's great at defensive midfield. He was good. He had Dembele next to him. He had Toby Alderweireld and Vertonghen, Jan the Man Vertonghen, as centre-back directly behind him. He had Carl Walker, world-class in his prime. Still up there now doing it, Carl Walker at right-back. Danny Rose at left-back, 2 or 3 years is incredible. One of the best left-backs in the league. Prime Lloris behind him as well. This is the barrier Dier had. And he had Ali in prime Ali and Ericsson in front of him too. he had some very, very good players around him, and it made him look better than he was. Sporting are very smart in their business. They do sign some older players, usually on frees. So it could make sense for him to go there. I think his contract runs out in 18 months. So I want him gone now. Not in 18 months. I want him gone in January. He won't go in January, but in the summer at least. This guy, he's like a cockroach. He just survives. The guy just survives. Even on a free, though, I don't think Sporting really fancy him. But the Bayern Munich rumours, I mean, it's incredible. The image cracks me up. It just cracks me up. He spent a lot of time on this. Someone spent a lot of time making this, and I feel sorry for them. It's lazy journalism. Because Kane plays for Bayern Munich and used to play for Spurs, they're both English, probably ex-mates. That's the only connection here. Bayern Munich centre-backs, Kim Min-jae, Delight, Upamenko, Eric Dier. There's more chance of Joseph Fritz escaping prison and playing centre-back for Bayern than there is Eric Dier, as far as I'm concerned. It's a fan rumour nonetheless, a fun rumour, I should say. And let's get one thing straight. I hope it happens. I would fly him there. I would teleport Dier there. I'd pay all my life savings for a ticket, first class, to send Dier to Bayern Munich. But it's not happening. I don't think it's happening. Stamboli to PSG was a weird one. Paulinho to Barcelona, although he didn't directly go to Barcelona from us, was a weird one. But this would top it all. Dier to Bayern Munich at this stage. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. One thing is for sure, though, he'll win the league title there. I know they're second in the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich, but they started a bit slowly, but they will win that title. They will win the Bundesliga title, I can assure you. Right, 40 minutes into the show now. Only 13 likes. We've got 24 people watching. It's completely free to smash a like. If you want to keep the channel growing, you want to keep the channel rolling even, please just smash a like. It's completely free. And of course, hit the sub if you haven't already done so. Right, let's have a look. Dier out. The only place Dani Alves plays now is in the prison showers. He's not actually in prison yet, though, is he? He's certainly had he's going to have his day in court, isn't he? I think. I heard something the other day. Dier out. Yeah, I'm with you. Please leave Eric. Please leave Eric. Dier shit. The end. Toney, there's no messing about. Yes, Spurs never value the best players. Bayern see the quality of Dier. That's why they're coming in for him. Elias is definitely trolling. He's definitely trolling. Benjamin's easy just to say someone is not good enough, but when asked, people like you never give evidence. I think if you want to look at the absolutes in terms of positions, rather than just saying he's shit, a centre-back it's the ultra deep concoction mentality that he has. He refuses to engage. But I understand why he refuses to make tackles Dier, because it makes him look better. He makes less errors that way. He doesn't make too many errors, Dier, on the ball or tackling. As I said, he just doesn't go for tackles. He doesn't engage, as we saw against Wolves. The first goal, terrible pass down the line, goes out for a throw-in. Now, that can happen to players. Actually, his best trait is on the ball. And then from that, on the side, he refuses to engage. Steps back, more interested in getting his hands behind his back. Just pushing the Wolves wingers onto you. And it ended up as a goal. The second one, just what is that marking for a centre-back? It's just ridiculous. Just non-marking, lack of tactical awareness and intelligence. DM, he didn't really have to engage as much. He picked up the loose ball, so he was acceptable there. But he's always been a poor player for me. Lacks any pace. Even in the air, he's not great. He really isn't good in the air. For someone as big as him and who's got a meatball head like him, he should be good in the air. Slow spectator, finger pointer. Dier will shine at Bayern and we'll envy the things he will achieve there. We'll envy the things he'll achieve there, because if he goes there, even as a squad player, he'll win the title. Like Golini and Ndombele, both won the titles at Napoli last season. They won the Scudetto playing for Napoli. So even bad players win titles, but I can't see it. It's complete lazy journalism for me. He can't play in goal. He can't play in defence. Can't play in midfield and can't play up front. All reasons to get rid. Toney, Dier is not as bad as we make him out. He is. He really is. I don't get the Dier hate. He's an English international, 29, in his prime, a versatile defender, can play with his tactical awareness and leadership. To me, he's as good as Harry Maguire. I think that's certainly, yeah, there's certainly something satirical there, I think. Exactly. Just he's joking. I think he's joking, isn't he? I think Potato's joking, surely. Laugh out loud, Potato. Spurs fans should be Emerson out and Dombele out before targeting a quality player like Eric Dier. He's definitely trolling Elias. But I'm Emerson out. Emerson and Dier are the two worst players in the team. They play alongside each other again. Tommy, Sky Sports also showed that Bayern are going in for him. They need a centre-back who can play long balls from the back, middle of the back free kind player. He definitely can't play middle of a back free kind player. He was horrific in that Conte system. Dier was great for Conte in that role, was he? Just ran away again. Just ran away from challenges. And we got found out. Tommy Stats' centre-back are not bad. No, he's terrible, Elias. He's not far from standard, slightly above average. He's way below average. I don't think Premier League clubs talking about him. I don't think a Premier League club will look at him, if I'm honest. We should have locked him in the toilet when he took a mid-game shit. if BM buys Dier, it will be a stopgap and bench play until Delight is back from his injury. I also think, Delight's injured. Elias out. If Bayern buy Dier, it shows Kane was the problem at Spurs. That's true. That's very true. But Elias is a pro at trolling because he's getting me annoyed. No, I'm joking. I know Elias. I've done loads of streams with Elias. I know how he rolls. But back in the day, he definitely did have a Dier bias. I've got a bit of a skip bias, to be honest with you. A lot of people dig skip out. I think it's a little bit unwarranted. But, there you go. Everyone's different. Everyone sees things differently. Right. Now, I talked about this. I discussed this on the panel, with the panel on Tuesday. So it's Ange too soft? Is our manager Ange Postecoglou too soft? Recently, lots of yellow cards. Recently, lots of red cards that have cost us dearly. More than the injuries, you could say. The red cards. I think it certainly cost us 6 points last week. I do. We would have won that Chelsea game if Romero didn't get sent off when he did. And if you add Romero and Adoji to the Wolves game, I think we would have won that too. Now, stopping Romero from getting sent off is almost an impossible task. He looks so different, Romero, to the old Romero in his first 10 games. The old Romero, very, very rash. Hardly got a booking. I don't think he got a single booking in his first five games, Romero. Working brilliantly alongside VDV in the early games. But he struggles when it matters in the big derbies like against Chelsea. Last season, he was poor in many of the big games too, although he was alongside Dier and Davis and Royal, which never helps. And Arsenal, even Arsenal, he gave the penalty away against Arsenal. He was also terrible. He wasn't good against Liverpool either. The big games he struggled in. In fact, I think he played really well in the second half against Arsenal and Liverpool. But for the most part, the big games last season, this season, his rashness comes back out and you just can't afford it. Because we're losing him for 3 games now. Lost him for 1, further 2 games. We just can't. We can't deal with that. This squad is not big enough, thick enough to deal with that. Look, he's made some horrible decisions recently. That sending off, I think, will affect him when he comes back as well. I think opposition players will target him, try and get under his skin, knowing that he's an accident waiting to happen when it comes to reactions. He should have been sent off twice against Chelsea. I was in the stand, so I didn't see the Beckham-style kick that he done, and the officials missed it as well. He should have got sent off for that, then get sent off properly. It's a lack of discipline. There's no other way to put it. Lack of discipline from Romero, but you can't blame Ange for that. Previous 10 games, he looked fine in terms of his rashness. I've got a funny... He comes back for the West Ham game, so he's going to miss Villa next. He's going to miss Man City. Back for West Ham. Oh, I won't be surprised if he gets banned in that game. He gets another sending off. This could affect him. Very emotional player, Romero. But talking about the Chelsea game, we know he got another sending off, Adogi. Very similar. His 2-footed challenge should have got sent off for in the first half. That should have been a straight red. I think that was a more obvious straight red than Romero's straight red, to be honest. But he's picking up lots of bookings as well, Adogi. Not just that sending off. He got the second yellow, didn't he? He got sent it off in the end again as well. But against Arsenal, and I can't remember who it was against, he got 2 very early yellow cards and then was brilliant. After that point, he didn't get the second yellow card and was very, very good. Against Arsenal, Saka in the second half, he was outstanding after getting booked in the first half. But he was known as a bit of a hothead in Italy, more off the pitch than on the pitch. I didn't see him enough on the pitch to know if he was seen as an overly aggressive player on the pitch. But off the pitch, he crashed his car. He was seen in nightclubs like late before games and after games. So it seemed like there was a little bit of an attitude issue with Adogi off the pitch, more than on the pitch. But it's worrying. He's picking up a lot of yellow cards, and that sending off against Chelsea was not good. It looks like he might miss the next game, not through ban, through injury as well, which is just horrible. It's not unfair to question Ange's discipline, I don't think. And of course, look, the other sending off, Bissouma. It was a recent one again. A lot of bookings Bissouma's been picking up. I think it's inevitable playing in his position. But if he picks another yellow card up, he's going to be banned. And he got that second yellow against Luton in the first half for diving. He got sent off. So I don't think it's unfair to question Ange's discipline. There's a fine line between giving you freedom on the pitch to being idiotic. The players have got freedom. But I'm sure Ange is looking to fix this. And it doesn't happen overnight, especially with a player like Romero. It's not a tap that can be turned on and off, sending offs and making sure players don't go over the top. We love this attacking football. All Spurs fans, we love this aggressive football we're seeing. But it can come with a cost if not handled properly. And right now, it's coming with a cost. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors in training, how Ange is handling the players. But if these stupid individual errors continue, we're going to be in big trouble. That's one thing we do know. Doesn't come across like a soft manager, Ange, in his interviews and in his previous jobs. But who knows? Who knows? Recently, we've lost our heads. We've lost our heads. The Dier stitch is weird. On his last year of his contract, but he gets selected before the likes of Phillips. So he must do something right in training. Or behind closed doors. Or Phillips is just not very good at all. I think the fact that he's a nice guy behind the scenes as well. And, you know, his fellow teammates probably love him. He's a nice guy off the pitch. Experienced 9-10 years. And Ange will look at him and say, I trust him more than Ashley Phillips' 7 games for Blackburn. And because you're getting in front of someone who's played 7 games in his professional career doesn't mean you're a good player. It just means Phillips is nowhere near ready. I would have preferred Sanchez to die all day long. I think we got rid of the wrong one on the final days of August. And I think it's quite obvious that Ange wanted Sanchez over Dier. We know this. We know this because the Fulham game where he made all those changes, Ange, the Carabao Cup that we went out in, he moved Sanchez in. He still didn't play Dier. Sanchez got the spot. It wasn't very good, but it was Sanchez and Van der Ven in that Fulham game that we went out in. So we're not supporting the manager. If we supported the manager, we would have sold Dier. And kept Sanchez because Ange blatantly preferred it. Actually, my favourite centre back. Wow. You're going to get a reaction. It's lucky there's only 24 people watching. It's lucky this isn't a big channel because I think you'd be getting a big reaction right now. Sol Campbell was a complete centre-back. Morning, lads. Jabberwocky. How you doing, my friend? Good morning, Tommy and everyone in the chat. What's happening, Bobby K? How you doing, my man? Hello, Bobby. Oh, come on, Tommy. Sanchez was worse, actually. Sanchez in this system would actually be okay because he's got pace. In fact, when Sanchez first turned up at Spurs, he was the second quickest player in the team for 2 years behind Son until I think Ritchie turned up. And Gil, I think, was faster than him when he came up. He was the second fastest in the team. Sanchez is a rapid centre-back when he was 20 years old. Very, very quick. He fits this system much better than Dier. Dier doesn't fit in any system as a centre-back. As a DM, you could have an argument. There's an argument that he could do okay as a DM, but as a centre-back at Premier League level, no chance. Nice guys never win. That's very true. Very, very true. I hope it's not the same scenario as Kevin Keegan. Kevin Keegan, nice guy. The players loved him. The players loved Kevin Keegan. The fans loved him. The neutrals loved him. Everyone loved him. But he just didn't have that winning edge. He was just overly nice to everyone. I'm not saying it's too early to say Ange is in that predicament. And we're not Newcastle in the mid-90s. Newcastle obviously threw that title away to Man United. That Kevin Keegan overly emotional interview, I think, killed him in many ways. Overly nice. Overly nice. Good morning, Elias. Won't pay the money that Brentford want for Toney. So, yeah, going back to the Toney situation, I've talked about it in a fair amount of depth. Yeah, exactly. But the conclusion that we came to was that Toney has actually only got 18 months left on his contract. He's going to be 28 years old in March. He's going to hit 28. Comes back in January 17th. Can start playing again competitively. So I don't think Brentford can ask for too much money with that in mind. I really don't. 18 months at 20 years old. 18-month contract at 28 years old. I'll take Toney hands down. But yeah, I don't think Levy would pay the money, quite frankly. Even if it was £50 million, I don't think Levy would pay the money. I think that 50 million on Brendan Johnson. I'm not saying it's wasted like Brendan Johnson, but you sell Kane, you get a striker, don't you? Really, you get a striker. I think £60 million you could have got Toney. 50 million paid on Brendan Johnson. But he's not young. Toney doesn't have sell-on value, so he doesn't fit into the Levy philosophy. Good morning. Is Bissouma banned for the next game? He's already banned for the next game. Great. So then he's 5 games off. He's 5 yellows off a 2-game ban. Because when you get 10 yellow cards, you get a 2-game ban, don't you? So Bissouma's got sent off. No doubt he'll get a 2-game ban as well. We're going to end up missing Bissouma for 4 or 5 games. And he has injury problems. Sanchez had his problems, but at least he could move. He was a poor player. I think his career was almost dead when our own fans booed him after coming on as a sub. Why did we never boo Dier like we booed Sanchez coming on as a sub? And he got overly emotional, Sanchez, and got subbed off. To be fair, I think that is a fair criticism of Sanchez. He is more emotional than Dier. Dier will take the criticism in his stride, where Sanchez sort of hides behind a rock. I suppose that could be a difference. Agreed, Tommy. I take Sanchez over Dier. Don't tell my son I said that. Your son, Elias, big Dier supporters. A great centre-back aside of politics. After he went to Arsenal, I couldn't care less. I looked at his traits. He was dead to me, Sol Campbell. I didn't even look at him as a footballer anymore. Just dead to me. But yeah, he was a complete centre-back is a good way of putting things. And he was pretty quick as well. Actually, we were talking about the quickest centre-backs in the Premier League the other week when I was talking about Van der Ven. I don't think I've seen one. But I think Des Walker, a little bit before my time, a lot of people came and said Des Walker was up there. Very, very quick. Rio Ferdinand was quite quick as well. He made himself look quicker because he was good at reading the game. You don't have to be quick to be a centre-back. You don't. If you're good at reading the game, like Cannavaro, Chiellini, some of the best centre-backs in the world just don't have pace. Terry didn't have pace either, and he was very good. Levy bid for, this time last season, £14 million. He was one of the highest goal contributors the first 6 months of last season at Brighton. We bid £14 million. 2 days later, Arsenal bid 27 million, got him. 14 million, just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I just see someone in the chat at the bottom here, crack me up. We are the only one of the so-called top 6 clubs who do not dare to play our kids from the academy. Is that on the manager? Is that on the academy not being good enough? There are many variables with that. I think on plenty of opportunities, we should have made smarter options in who we're loaning our players to. I really, really do. I think we got one right this season with Divine, taking him to Port Vale. But I hope there's a recall clause in there, because I'll tell you what, with Maddison injured, Divine would be great as a cam. Better option than Lo, better option than putting Højbjerg at centre mid. So But I think Dorrington's been getting first team throughout this season as a centre back. Everyone's talking about Phillips. I think Dorrington's on the slider. Can't help the burps. But I think Dorrington will be above Phillips in the pecking order if someone was going to come in. The fact that we lost Van der Ven and Romero, we didn't play them against Wolves, and he won't be there for the next 2 games either, at least. Romero with his 2-game ban. I would hope we'd get a young player through. I'd hope we get Dorrington and Phillips in, of course. But if not, it's because they're not good enough. It's as simple as that. He goes training all the time, Ange, 4 hours a day. He sees it not good enough. And if Dier's better than them, then this is a failure of the fact that Dier's got to play and Davis has got to play centre-back, being a natural left-back, is the perfect proof that our summer transfer window was a failure. Many fellow streamers told me, don't worry, we're going to sign 3 centre-backs. We're going to sign 3 centre-backs. I said, I know Levy. People with a brain know Levy. We've signed 2 centre-backs maximum. We didn't sign a centre-back for Conte. We played with 3 centre-backs. He never got a single centre-back signed other than Langley on loan. Langley, who can't get a game for Villa. He hasn't played a single game for Villa this season. Not league game anyway. He's going to get his loan deal cut because he's that bad. That's at Aston Villa. They're a good club, not a great club. Langley was pretty much first team for the majority of last season. That's the only player centre-back we got for Conte. So you're saying we're going to sign 3 centre-backs in the summer? No chance. We got 1, Van der Ven, history of hamstring issues. We know this because he had a hamstring injury last season, was out for 3 months. We need to sign more centre-backs. Dier and Davis. Fundamentally, it's a failure of the summer transfer window. I don't know Ange that well, but I trust Ange enough. If the players are good enough, they'll come in. I think a lot of it comes down, with Eric Dier, a lot of it comes down to he's cushy with the players. He's nice. He's a nice guy. He knows 60 languages. That's how we got through with Nuno and Jose, almost certainly knowing Portuguese. Levy has said there is money. I bet there is money for Levy to have a pay rise. Exactly. This time last year is when he announced the pay rise, wasn't it? Dier doesn't deserve any boos. He does. If Sanchez deserves boos, then Dier deserves boos. I wouldn't personally boo my own player at the ground. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't even boo my player when I'm joking, when I'm watching down a pub or watching on TV. I'm supporting them. But if someone deserves it, Eric Dier deserves it. Bobby K, good morning, mate. Campbell is a snake. Beyond the snake. Des Walker was quality. Yeah, a bit before my time, but apparently he had to pay. He should have signed for a big club, shouldn't he? But to be fair, Nottingham Forest were a big club back in the day. Sheffield Wednesday were all right. Doe was one of the best, as you say, politics obscure. So Spurs legacy. I've got a funny feeling this could be Elias. Toney was one of the best ever. My grandma could have outrun him with her walker, walking stick. Yeah, Chiellini the same. Cannavaro won Ballon d'Or. He was the same. Baresi wasn't that fast either, and I think he was the one that won best defender of the year before that as well. Pace is not needed if your tactical awareness is there. And this is one thing. Van der Ven is going to have to rein his pace in a little bit when he comes back because he's getting hamstring injury after hamstring injury. It's going to keep happening. So this is, in many ways, going to even out his other traits. His other defensive traits should get better now. We'll see. Michael Owen, when he done his hamstring injury, his pace never returned, but he used other... he got better at his other traits. He improved it, and he won Ballon d'Or in 2001. After that, it went downhill because he started getting more and more injuries. But you have to learn to adapt. And this reliance on pace for Van der Ven, there was no longevity to it. It was always going to do his hamstring, always going to tear his hamstring. Were you even born when Campbell played? I can't really remember Campbell playing, to be honest. I really can't. I was 2 years old when Campbell played. We haven't been the same since Madonna. The worst thing about Campbell was the fact that he said he would never go to a rival club. He would never go to Arsenal. He was our captain, and we didn't get a penny for him either. We haven't been the same since McDermott left. Very good afternoon. Everyone watching, hope you're well and having a great day. Have liked as normal. Good luck with your channel. Thank you very much, Ian Barron. I haven't seen you in the chat before, I don't think. But big up, Ian. It's fully interactive on this show, on these solo shows. Usually I have guests, or Dan has guests. But I try and keep as interactive as possible. So get in the chat and we'll get discussing. We're an hour in now. 32 people watching. We only got 21 likes. Well, to be for 21 likes is fantastic. I'm just happy. If we get to 10 likes, it's fantastic. But every like we get, it helps the channel grow. And we release more content. If you're liking what we're showing, then we'll release more content. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that as well. It helps the channel. Apologies to chat. I'm in my usual troll mode today. Got drunk after birthday dinner a bit. I'm getting through this side of slow, man. It's centre-back talk, Elias. You're obsessed with centre-backs. I don't mind that. I was a defensive scout, so I like talking centre-backs. I do. Big up, Bill. This is a perfect position to give Phillips, Dorrington and Toney playing time. So many believe they're destined to fail and be broken. Fuck that shit. You get stronger from adversity. Not Dier. That's very true. I want to see him in there. I think it's a great opportunity. If one of them is injured, I could certainly say you might have to think about putting Dier or Davis in there. But with two out, moving Ben Davies from left back to centre back, do you know what? I would just go with Dier and Dorrington at this point. I know Davies played better, but I know it's difficult. Who's Ben Davies or Dier? The centre back. But I would put Dorrington in. I definitely would put him in. Krishan reduces the filter and the truth comes out. No, it's not me, Tommy. I don't create burner accounts, just for your information. Whenever I say, but it's weird that he's popped up. This So Campbell's popped up all of a sudden. Hi guys, I'm a Darlington fan. When I saw this, Dorrington, I thought this was Dorrington. We were made bankrupt in 2011, reformed in 2012, demoted 4 leagues. We are currently a part-time fan-owned National League North club. We've had 3 promotions to date. I've done a lot of scouting work in the National League, South and mostly South because I'm from the Southeast. So I've done a lot of scouting down there to start with, and then I signed quite a few players for League One clubs and League Two clubs. Working with Stevenage for a bit when they were in League One. So I was doing a lot of work down there. And I tell you what, some of the football down there is still fantastic. A lot of players making it is down to luck. Now, people don't want to hear that. It is. A lot of it is down to luck, quite frankly. If the scouts are at the right game at the right time or at the wrong game at the wrong time, then your career can just change like that. So I still love going to them lower league games. But Darlington were big once upon a time. They were up there once upon a time. No, I'm not Elias. So at times, yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Please hit the like and subscribe. Thanks. Nice one, Simply Ace. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. We're coming towards the end of the show now. We are coming towards the end of the show. King was better than Campbell. Oh, Ledley King. What a man. I don't like what he said. Basically protecting Levy last season. I really didn't like what he came out with because he's my favourite ever Spurs player. Him and Robbie Keane growing up, I just loved them. Kane and King. But I didn't like what he had to say about Levy. But he is an ambassador for the club. So what can you say? Pace is in the head as well as the body. Sometimes after a bad hamstring, the mind slows you down, even when 100% fit. Very true. Simply Ace, good morning, gents. Big up, Bobby. Have a word with the troll. Bobby K, morning, bruv. How we doing, everyone? Bobby K, how you doing? Lots of love for Bobby K. Rightly so. All the way from Canada. Already got 3 kids to deal with this morning. Phillips and Villiers should have got minutes when it was all going rosy. I hope if we don't sign a striker in January, we're 100% going to need Villiers when Son gets injured. And I tell you what, I want to see him when he's come on late in the games when we're winning. Villiers holds the ball up well, got a little bit of pace about him. I mean, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't like £2 or £3 million signing from Argentina. We invested £13 million in him and we didn't sign another. He's the only natural striker in that squad. Son's been good as a striker, but he's not a natural striker. 10 years at the left wing. He is the only natural striker. So I definitely want to see Villiers down the line. Now, if we don't sign a striker in January, which I don't think we will, I know my opening fund now is Toney. I hope we would sign him. I don't think it's happening. Villiers will get game time, I'm sure. I'm sure of that. Not as convinced with Phillips. I think Dorrington's in front of Phillips. I think the conversation has to be Dorrington as the next youth player because he's playing week in, week out for the under-21s. Phillips is playing sporadically. Can't you play 3 at the back? 3 at the back for No, we've seen enough of free at the back. We can do that, but we saw enough of free at the back last season. We need a utility left back, left centre back, and utility right back, right centre back. We need backup Maddison. If not, then we'll finish mid-table. Look at what is happening. Everyone told me we don't need a backup for Maddison. There are more important positions we need. Sunday's why we need backup for Maddison. Do you know what? At this stage, I would put Bentancur as cam. Dan in the chat, my man Dan, co-host, is an adamant that we should put Kulusevski as cam. I don't think so. I would. Bentancur, both-footed, has been very creative for Spurs over the last year. Lots of assists, even goals. Should have scored against Chelsea. Open goal, missed. Bentancur as a cam with Sarr and Basuma behind him. I would go with that for the next game, rather than put Højbjerg in at centre mid or chuck Lo Celso in. Just don't rate Lo Celso at all. For now, I want to watch, but we need a lot of players in January. How many are we going to get? Honestly, how many players do we think Spurs are going to get? Not who. How many? 1, 2, 3. I'll tell you what. We need to be getting players in the very first week. So we need to be proactive now. Because we lose 3 players. Sarr, Basuma, Son, they're all going mid-January for international duty. It could be best part of a month, if not 5 weeks. We need to move fast. I went to watch the under-21s last weekend. Dorrington was really good. Won a good challenge, high up pressing. Then Donnelly put a great ball into Lancashire to score. Dorrington, Abbott and Donnelly were quality. Donnelly's more of a centre mid, isn't he? Everyone's saying Donnelly can't come in at centre back. He's a centre mid, isn't he, Donnelly? More of a centre mid cam type player. Dorrington and is it Fagan Walcott is centre back? Are our centre backs or Phillips? Sure, that's how it goes. But I loved. It's good to see that he went there, Steve. It's fantastic going Hotspur way. We have great facilities. I used to go there a lot as well. And I mentioned last week with the whole Pat Jennings situation that I used to see him a lot there, and he'd talk to everyone. Pat Jennings, so good to see him recover. So I spent a fair amount of time there watching under 21s, watching under 18s, and it is great to see those players. Oh no, that wouldn't have been a Hotspur way, would it? Or would it have been a Hotspur way? Because sometimes the under 21s play at Hotspur way, sometimes they have a separate ground at Barnet or something like that. And the under 18s certainly played there. Cyril knows Spurs and Darlow legend. I wasn't aware of that. Spurs legend, of course. 5 more likes, and we get. Is Darlington a seaside town? Ian, I'm guessing you're from Darlington. Is it a seaside town? 5 more likes, and we get 30. Yes. Yeah, we're on 26 likes. Fantastic. It's very, very early. I don't do early morning ones, so Dan is usually the man for that. Phillips and Dorrington play together all the time. I'm convinced they would do better than. I think it's Fagan Walcott that plays with Dorrington for the most part. I'll have to look that up. I always look at the selection list, and Phillips is coming in and out. Dorrington's starting. Ian Barrett, good morning, buddy. Danny, good morning, buddy. Lots of love between the chatters. Made his debut when he was 18. Just saying. And I'll tell you what, Ledley King was yeah, exactly. You got to throw him in sometimes. You have got to throw him in sometimes. And I'll tell you what, Ledley, we talk about defensive midfield. Ledley King was fantastic at defensive midfield. He played defensive midfield for a season under David Pleat, I remember, when I first got fully into Spurs. And it was absolutely exceptional. To be fair, Kompany done that as well for Man City. Kompany played as a defensive mid for the first few seasons. Not just Eric Dier that plays defensive mid and comes back as a centre-back. Dorrington drives out with the ball really well as well. Yeah, he's got that pace. Similar sort of body type to Van der Ven as well, isn't he? But way too effing much. Bentancur, Sarr, centre midfield with Kulu attacking midfield looks better. I just look at the game the other day, and we didn't attack a great deal, and our best attack was the goal. Great flick through Kulusevski on the right to Porro, puts it into Brennan Johnson on the left, bangs it. I would put Bentancur there. Because Basuma's injured for the next game, isn't he? Banned. I forgot about that. I forgot that he's actually banned for the next game. So in that case, you might have to. I don't think Andrew's going to put Kulu on the right wing, regardless, because we haven't got anyone on the left wing. So Kulu can come out, then you put Brennan Johnson on the right, but who are you going to put on the left? That's the issue. 1, Jota, 3. Yeah, Nuno didn't fancy him, but Nuno's been sacked now, hasn't he? So the new manager, is he been released? Has he actually been released from Al Hilal? Because I'm sure they'll have a new manager, and the new manager might fancy him unless he's been released. Weird one. They signed him for £25 million, but that makes a lot of sense. We need wingers. Jota plays left and right for Celtic under Ange. He's played with Ange, both-footed. Jota, very, very, very skillful, lots of flair, but his attitude can be an issue. He definitely won't track back. Got a bit of that toxic vibe, Jota. I think that's why there were problems with him in Saudi Arabia. That neighbour we had for a season, these were the little signings that built Spurs as a club from 8th, 9th to 6th to top 4, I think, under Yo. We were constantly getting into the top 6, and Lasagna Gate just stopped us from getting into the top 4 before Martin Yo was sacked at half-time. Crazy. Many people went Levy out after that. That's a whole nother subject. But one season Naybit was there. I think Dawson and King learned a lot of him, especially King. Edgar Davids, centre mid for a year. I think a lot of the centre mids learned a lot of him. Carrick, the other centre mids we had at that time. I think Carrick learned a lot of him. The great, once world-class players. Well, Edgar Davids was definitely world-class. Naybet, Deportivo were huge. Mid to late 90s in La Liga. They were one of the very, very best clubs. They were always getting Champions League football. And that's where he came from. We need 5, but we will get 2 at the best. Same shit, different day. And that's what we needed in the summer. I was like, get a centre-back, Van der Ven, get an experienced centre-back. Laporte would have been perfect. Oh, Laporte. He went to Saudi Arabia in the end, didn't he? Laporte would have been absolutely perfect to get with Van der Ven in the summer for me. We need 5, but we'll get 2 at best. Same shit, different year. And it will all be towards the end, Toney. I guarantee it. I was in Stamford. It was in Stamford, mate, against Peterborough. Oh, fair enough. Oh, yeah. We lost, didn't we? Was that a cup game? Did we lose that one? That was our first, but that was a cup game. They usually play at Stevenage, though. Yeah, Stevenage, that's it. I think we get 1 in at the end of January, which will be a centre-back. If that is the case, we're screwed, as we need more. Our backup is not even the standard of poor. King was quality as DM for England as well. I mean, the fact that, the reason his career never got going at England was the fact that we weren't one of the best clubs. The manager at the time just chose the Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United players, and the centre backs. We did have depth there, didn't we? So he's almost forced to play DM. I mean, it's crazy the depth we had. Judas, Carragher, Rio Ferdinand, Terry. 4 great centre backs. You're not going to get in front there. In fact, Carragher, for me, Carragher was always overrated. I'm not saying that because I don't. He's not the worst pundit. I don't really rate him as a pundit. Lyons Foster, that's it. Yeah, Forgan Walker has left the club. Dorothy, I know his double-barreled name with Phillips or Lyons Foster. Yeah, it's Lyons Foster that's been getting the majority of the games up until the last few weeks, where I think Phillips might have been getting a few more. Yeah, Fagan Walcott. We had 2 double-barrel named centre-backs, didn't we, for the last few years? So, yes, Lyons Foster. Darlington is northeast of England, inland, near Middlesbrough. Oh, fair enough. Ange will get pissed off at the end of Jan. That I know, no doubt. Spurs don't need an overpriced Toney. He's a throwback to Wimbledon, not a Spurs player. He is very Route 1. He's Route 1, but then he's forced to be Route 1 because he does have a bit of pace. Brentford don't have a very good centre midfield. They don't have creative centre midfielders. So they just hit him. They bypass it, go Route 1 to Toney, and everything happens that way. So I think that's the way Brentford play. I think you could play in a different system. I would take him. Definitely. He's homegrown, knows the Premier League. That's why I love Maddison. I love the Maddison signing because I knew he's going to come in and do a great job. I wasn't convinced we would get him. I thought he'd go Newcastle all day long with Champions League football. But I think, David, you're the one that said, and a few others said that his wife don't want to go with Newcastle, so he's coming to Spurs. But I like Premier League proven players. And Toney, 3rd highest top goal scorer behind Haaland and Kane last season. The quality's there. No, we won, but we lost to the first team a week or 2 before. Oh, right. Okay. Oi, Bobby K legend. Hope you're all well. Villa, City, Spammers and Newcastle coming up. Adopt the brace position. If you hear brace, yeah, the upcoming fixtures. It's not looking good. We talked about it on Tuesday. How many points do you reckon we're going to get from that? How many points do you think we're going to get out of those 12? We had Dietrich on. Dietrich said 0. I don't think he's ever been the most optimistic of fans. I think pessimistically, you'd have to say you get 8 points, you'd be very, very, lucky. I think 4 or 5. I think we'll lose to Villa. I think we'll beat City. No, draw to City. I think we will actually get a point against City. So, point against City, beat West Ham. That's 4 points. Either lose or draw to Newcastle. I think 5 points is the best we can get from 12, if I'm honest with you. I've got a sneaking feeling we'll get a point against City. And that sounds crazy. Wolves beat them. They've not been that great. Yeah, they peak when it matters, Man City. They really do. They always peak when it matters. The big club bias really messed up England back in the day. Carragher, Butt, Phil Neville, and many others should never have played for England. But do you know what? A lot of people say Phil Butt and Gary Neville were two of the most underrated Man United players. I mean, they won a lot at Man United, but they were sort of overshadowed by other players. A lot of the coaching staff and Alex Ferguson, said that he should not have sold Butt and Phil Neville when he did. Carragher was overrated for me. Really overrated. Tottenham looking at Juventus, Samuel Willing Jr. We're linked with every Juventus player. A lot of the time, Dan, I think it's lazy journalism. It's as simple as that. Juventus are linked with Højbjerg. Okay, look, we've obviously got a good connection with Juventus. We signed Bentancur from Kulusevski in the same window. Romero originally played for Juventus. What else has happened there? We signed someone else from Juventus as well. Who's the other one we signed from Juventus? So we've got good affiliation with them. We haven't got a good affiliation with many clubs because Levy just fucks everyone over. And we link with him. We link with Cambiaso, the left back, who's in and out of the team for Juventus. We do need backup at left back, so that made sense. Who else? Oh, Chiesa, the other week we were in for. I'm not sure. Juventus are in a bit of financial strife, but I think it's exaggerated. And they're doing well in the Serie A now. I think they're second, 1 point behind the leaders. They're having the best season they've had for 4 or 5 years. So I don't think they're going to be looking to sell. But as a youngster, maybe we nick a youngster from their youth academy because I'm sure that's what this guy's going to be. 6th, 7th, 4th, and 8th. We're pretty much back to 2005. It's very true. Very, very true. 4 or 5 points would be good. It would be good from that lot. Vicario, Adoji, Dorrington, Phillips, Porro, Sarr, Lo Celso, Bentancur, Kulusevski, Son Johnson. It's really time to prove the motto to Dier is to do. We are going to lose anyway. Do you know what? I would put Højbjerg at centre-back. I wouldn't be so against that, but I'd put Højbjerg as centre-back in front of either Phillips or Dorrington. So Dorrington's the one that everyone's talking about. So I would even just put Højbjerg there. I think Højbjerg would be a better centre-back than Davis and Dier. And Phillips just doesn't seem to be fancied by Ange, which is fair enough because he's still very, very young. I would not mind putting Højbjerg at centre-back. I think the winter break in January may save Spurs' season. I think this international break helps us to a certain degree because, to be fair, it was supposed to be a month injury for Maddison, and it's been, by the time we play our next game, it'll be 3 weeks since his injury against Chelsea. However, news the other day says it's going to be 6 weeks. Before the Wolves game, it says it's going to be 6 weeks from then. But we've got a lot of injuries. So even this international break helps us a little bit just to get some players back. We're not going to see grade 2 hamstring, Van der Ven. We're not seeing him till after Christmas. No chance. I think City may have a record-breaking win against us. We will only take 3 out of 12 points. Do you think that would be 3 draws or 1 win and 3 losses? I've got a funny feeling you're thinking lost to Villa, lost to Man City, lost to Newcastle, win against West Ham. I think it'd be too simplistic for that to happen. It could be really bad. Dietrich said 0 points. It could be really, really bad. Greetings. Juventus will never do business with us because Levy broke the agreement with Kulu. That's a very good point. We didn't accept the optional fee. We rejected it, which was like 30 million pounds. And we said, we'd give you slightly less. We'd give you 22, 23 million pounds. So bridges may be broken there. It's lazy journalism. Lazy journalism. Keep linking us with Juventus players. We're not signing Chiesa. This comes under lazy journalism as well. I've got to keep looking at this because it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's so annoying we're out of the League Cup. It really is because we're not winning the league. We're not in Europe for the first time in 14 years. So we only have 3 possible trophies to win this season. Not winning the league. We're out of the League Cup. Leaves us the FA Cup. Doesn't start in January. The only way we're gonna do well in the FA Cup if we get a lucky draw. Quite frankly, let's face it. That's the only way. If Dier starts over Phillips against Villa, then we have a major problem. It means Ange doesn't rate him yet, and Dier and Davies simply cannot be on the pitch at the same time. He doesn't. That's the case, Bob. He doesn't rate him. I think that's the way it is. You were right. 3 points against West Ham only. Right. I always do this at the end of these solo shows. I always start. Oh, not that. I always start looking at the rumour mill, and there's loads of transfer rumours. As I said, we're only 6 weeks away from the window, so we need to talk about it. We really do. Most of these are not to do with Spurs. They are from the Premier League, but they all affect us. We know the domino effect that happens in the league. Someone signs someone from someone. They need a replacement from someone, and da-da-da-da-da. It is always a domino effect. It just takes one signing. One signing. What I will say before we go into this final segment, we're on 29 likes. Get us to 30. We just need one like and get us to 30. It'd be fantastic. If you could somehow get up to 35 by the end of the stream, that would be magnificent. We're on 2.75 subscribers as well. 2.75k subscribers and 250 away from 3k. Want to get there before the end of the season. If we can get 50 more up until Christmas, it'd be great. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. As hitting the like, it's completely free. It's completely free. And it does help the channel grow. Right. We don't need to fear Villa, especially at the Lane, because Villa have only won 2 away games, 3-1 at Burnley. But we said this last season. We said this last week, David. You said to me that Wolves have only won 1 game at home. They beat us again. The records are there to be broken. You got to do the paper round with a dessert, like on Football Italia. I did do that on Saturday mornings when I first started streaming. So this is the equivalent, because this is I'm giving you the newspapers that these stories come from. I haven't just made these up. So I suppose this is the equivalent to 2023 Football Italia, Gazzetta Football Italia. I loved it. That's why Italian League is my love. Saturday mornings with James Richardson going through the papers. I know exactly what you're talking about, Benjamin. Right. Thursday's football gossip. So Newcastle United are interested in Spain forward Ferran Torres, who Barcelona could be prepared to sell after the former Man City player, 23, failed to meet expectations at the La Liga side. That's Fichajes, newspaper in Spanish. Fichajes. They're reporting that. Ferran Torres, why don't Spurs take a look? He can play up top. He can play on the wing. Take a look. I think that could be a loan. A lot of these are going to be loans. So next up, Chelsea, Liverpool and Man City are all interested in Bayern Munich's 23-year-old Canada fullback, Alphonso Davies, but ultimately believe the player wants to join Real Madrid. Why would Bayern Munich sell him? Has something happened? Is he falling out? Maybe Eric Dier is a replacement for Alphonso Alves. Newcastle are also weighing up a January move for Bayer Leverkusen's 20 million rated Germany defender, Jonathan Tah, 27 years old. That's the Sun reporting that. He's a great centre-back. Leverkusen have got 3 fantastic centre-backs. They've got Hincapie, who's more of a left-back than a left centre-back. I don't think he'd be great in a 2 centre-back situation, Hincapie. But we were linked with him for a long time. Tapsoba, both-footed, fantastic centre-back. I'll be looking at Tapsoba all day long. And Jonathan Tah plays centrally because Leverkusen play with a 3. So they have Hincapie left centre-back, Jonathan Tah middle centre-back, Tapsoba right centre-back. Fantastic player. 20 million pounds. He's huge, Jonathan Tah. But do you know what? He actually reminds me of Lascelles, Newcastle's Lascelles, Jamal Lascelles, their centre-back. Very similar build, but a better player. So 20 million for him would be good business. Newcastle know what they're doing. They don't even spend huge amounts. I mean, Botman they got for 30 million pounds. That was everyone should have been looking at Botman. One Liga with Lille. Seriously, left-footed centre-back, we should have looked at Botman. And they picked him up for 30 million pounds. They know what they're doing. I mean, they're getting the best out of Dan Burn at left-back. He's a 6'10". Crazy. So Man United are refusing to let 23-year-old Jadon Sancho leave on the cheap in January transfer window, despite manager Ten Hag wanting rid of the exiled England winger. That's the Mirror reporting that. We've been linked. We're going to be linked with wingers, and rightly so, because we've got so many injuries. So many injuries. We've been linked with Sancho as well. Apparently, he costs like £90 million. I heard they're willing to take 40, 50 million pounds. That was the news on the grapevine. But I think Sancho, I wouldn't be surprised if we nicked a winger on loan. Sancho on loan with an optional fee. I would probably be up for that. But it looks like Man United don't really want to sell. They want money. And that's not a surprise considering he costs 90 million pounds. Chelsea are ready to rival Arsenal and Liverpool for Corinthians' 18-year-old South American midfielder Gabriel Moscardo, who would cost around 26 million pounds standard. That sounds like a bit of a Brighton approach there. 18-year-old South American Gabriel Moscardo. I don't know what country this is. South American, so I'm guessing not Brazilian, or they would have put that. Colombian, Ecuadorian. Sounds Colombian or Ecuadorian Moscardo. Someone look it up. In fact, I'll look it up. Let's have a quick look. There's so many young South American players being linked. I haven't looked at these rumours, by the way. These are a friend of mine does a Facebook group and he gathers all of these every morning. 16 matches, 0 goals, 0 assists for Corinthians. And he's Brazilian. Why didn't they put Brazilian instead of South American then? I don't know. It is what it is. But 18 years old, 0 goals, 0 assists in centre midfield. Look, he's probably a defensive midfielder. He's almost certainly going to be a defensive midfielder in that case. Newcastle and England striker Callum Wilson will be out for at least 6 weeks. Good. I don't wish injuries on players, but we need as much help as we can get. I think he always scores against us, doesn't he? We've got Newcastle soon. While Magpies teammate, 23-year-old Dutch defender Botman, who I've just mentioned, could be out for even longer because of a knee issue. I didn't know he was injured. This is good. I know Newcastle have a lot of injuries. I didn't know Wilson was out. That's mad. Take advantage. Take advantage. We've got them in 3 or 4 games' time. In fact, got this up from the other day. Let's look at the dates we play. I might as well use them. I've had these visuals up. I've spent time doing them. If I can use them for more than one show, then might as well. Let's have a little look. Let's use the Canva share screen. I've got 8 things at the same time here with my overlay. Bloody, my computer's riddled with viruses. Riddled. All right, let's take this off for a sec. Still got more rumours to look at. So yeah, these are. So when we got 10th, right? We got Newcastle on the 10th. It's not far away. 3 weeks. So Newcastle are going to be missing Wilson, Botman. They've got a whole host of other injuries. It's crazy. Let me see what other injuries they got. This is where we are as a team. We need teams around us having loads of injuries or we're in trouble. I think Isak had a long one as well. So Harvey Barnes. Yeah, he's missed 12 games so far. Botman has already missed 10 games. Isak has missed 6 games. Murphy, 6 games. Anderson, 6 games. Target, 4 games. Dan Burn, 3 games. Callum Wilson, hamstring injury, 2 games. So it's looking good. We're okay. We should smash Newcastle now. They are big injuries. Their centre midfield still looks strong, and their centre midfield with Guimaraes, Joe Linton, Almiron is still very strong. But Isak and Wilson, their 2 main strikers being out, is definitely good. It serves us well. So yeah, I said 4 or 5 points out of these fixtures just to go over it again. Villa on the 26th at home. We're going to lose. Man City away. And put my neck on the line and say we're going to get a point there. 7th, West Ham at home. We'll win that. Newcastle at home. I said we'd lose or draw. With those injuries, you've got to say, should win at home. Draw. I think minimum draw. Yeah, Botman's still going to be out. They're still going to have loads of injuries. So, yeah, I think so. I think we should win that. Okay, back to the rumours. Not many left now. Man United are continuing to monitor 19-year-old Brighton striker Evan Ferguson, despite the Republic of Ireland international recently signing a new deal with the Seagulls. That's Football Insider reporting that. He's going to cost a lot of money. They've just spent the best part of 80, 90 million on Højlund from Atalanta, another young striker. Like, why? Why did they sign Højlund? They should have gone for Osherman. They had a very good season last year. They won a trophy. They got into the Champions League. Good season under Ten Hag. And then they buy Højlund. They should have gone for Kane or Osherman. Both would have gone. Osherman would have gone. Kane would have gone. Osherman would have cost about £150 million. But Kane's not that much more expensive than Højlund. And now they're looking at another 19-year-old. They are going to get new owners, aren't they? That's Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So we'll see. He'll probably want to bring some of his own players and probably his own manager too. Right. RP Leipzig, director of football, Ralph Schroeder, has opened the door to a 27-year-old former Chelsea forward, Timo Werner, leaving the club. With the German having started just 2 games this season. That's another big mistake Chelsea made in the transfer window. Werner cost about £60 million, didn't he? Shocking signing. The Germans they signed don't turn out well, do they? Havertz, Rudiger was all right, actually. Started poorly, but they don't have a great track record with Germans. Even Ballack, back in the day, Ballack never showed what he could do at Chelsea. Ballack was serious. There are doubts about the futures of Man United's football director, John Murtough, and director of football operations, David Harrison, following the announcement that chief executive, Richard Arnold, is leaving the club. That's of no surprise, as I just said. There's going to be, with the new owners, it's going to be crazy. It's going to go crazy. Right, let's get back in the chat for the final time. Do you think the stoppages in the game due to VAR is causing some of the players' injuries? I guess, look, it's something I never actually considered. I guess possibly. Possibly. I mean, we got the injuries at the Chelsea game when there were more VAR stoppages than ever, Ian. I'm not sure if you watched the game, but I was there live and the VAR, it was ridiculous. It's worse when you're at the ground because you don't know what's going on. You're not seeing screens. You ain't got a fucking clue what's going on at the game. The stoppages that game were crazy, and we ended up getting a lot of injuries, didn't we? It takes the pace out of the game, doesn't it? If it's a really fast, pacey game and you're looking over pretty much every contentious decision, it definitely takes something away from the game and the celebrations. It massively takes away the celebrations of the game. But predominantly, as you say, injuries, yeah, I guess it will make a difference. Leverkusen are the top of the Bundesliga. They're never selling their defenders, but they have to. They're a selling club. If the price is right, they will sell. And the fact that they've got 3 centre backs, and they've also got another centre back, like a fourth one called Con Meyer or something like that. I can't remember his name. He was pretty good too. So if 60 million bids come in for Tapsoba, top or not, they're going to have to sell, and I don't think they're going to be top by January. Xabi Alonso was a real candidate to get our job in the summer, and it looks like he's doing very well. What's funny would be if Xabi Alonso did come in the summer, him and Arteta were best mates growing up, both centre mids. I don't think they ever played with each other, as I said to Bishop. No, I don't think they played with each other other than maybe Spain a few times. But Arteta and Alonso were best mates as kids. Imagine North London derby, that'd be crazy. But we've got our man Ange now. You don't need to worry about that. Started his career at Darlington FC back in the day. Wow. Of all things, I know he went to Fulham, didn't he? I think he was at Fulham Youth Academy. Maybe he came from Darlington Youth Academy to Fulham Youth Academy, or maybe he was at Youth Academy and went to Darlington. But that's a crazy fact. We'll be linked to everybody under the sun, but we'll need to Google the signings we get. Well, some people, fellow streamers, will convince you that they've seen the player play 100 times and he's great, which is just not the case. Every Brazilian we have signed have been, haven't they? Let's just think off the top of our heads. Gilberto. Let's go from back to front. So Gomez, not great. Gilberto, horrible. Paulinho, not good. Sandro, he's never really, he was good, wasn't he, Sandro? He's no more than that. He's like a squad player, isn't he? I love him. I love his ninja kicks and that, Sandro. But he was an average player, slightly above average. Dos Santos, Giovanni Dos Santos. I know he ended up playing for Mexico, didn't he? But he could have played for Brazil. He would have played for Brazil if he was any good. Who else? He's supposed to sign Leandro Damião about 300 times. Every Brazilian we have signed has been faulty. 1 point in the next 4 games. Toney saying it's more than Dietrich's fault. He said 0. All of those teams on the screen are better backup players than us. Time to get my minions off to school. Good to see you, Tommy. Have a great day, everyone. And remember to like the stream. Thank you very much, Bobby K. Take it easy, my friend. Don't work too hard. Yeah, I like Alonso as a player and a manager. Darlington FC to Fulham for 300 grand. So he's very much he's a Darlington boy, absolute Darlington boy. Right. Thanks everyone for watching today. I'm going to wrap things up there. Always appreciate people watching this time of day. Please, before you go, hit the like, subscribe, chuck the notification bell on, notifies you future content. Next show I'll be doing for definite is Sunday night. I probably won't be doing a show till Sunday night now. We do Spurs Uncensored. I think we're going to just start having it as me and Dan and the chat. Me and Dan in the chat. We have a lot of fun. The Hotspur boys are going live 11 a.m. Saturday. So make sure you just stay notified and subscribe. You can see all this content coming up. And then Dan himself does sporadic shows. He'll go live first thing in the morning sometimes, just sporadically here, there, and everywhere. So keep tuned in. Lots of things happening on the channel. So once again, thanks for watching and stay classy, Lily Whites. Peace out. I hope everyone has a great day.